Hello students, today we are going to discuss on the topic engine cooling system. What is engine cooling and why it is needed? So 30% of heat is carried by cooling water, includes combustion and the friction heat. So outlet temperature of water from engine varies from 50 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius in water cooled. So it has been observed that the gasoline engine requires much more air than diesel engine, and the turbocharged diesel engine requires less cooling than naturally aspired diesel engine. So what is the need of engine cooling? So first one is to maintain the temperature of lubricating oil below 200 degrees Celsius and different components. Next is the reduce thermal stresses and the cracking effect. Next, reduce abnormal combustion, which is called detonation, and next is the increased volumetric efficiency. So these are the requirements why engine cooling is needed. Now, while cooling, we must keep in mind that engine must not be overcooling. So disadvantage of overcooling will be engine must be sufficiently hot to assure smooth combustion. At low temperature, problem in starting, and low temperature, corrosion. At low temperature, the sulfurs and sulfuric acid resulting from combustion of fuel attack the cylinder barrel. To avoid condensation of acids, the coolant temperature should be greater than 70 degrees Celsius. So overcooling will be a big problem for the engine. Now let's see the types of cooling system. First one is the air cooling, which is for small engine, aircraft engine, low weight, industrial and agriculture, the strong objection. Second type is the water cooling, which is large engines, and last is the oil cooling, which is used in racing cars. So this is the air cooling system. This is the engine cylinder. This is the inlet port, this is the outlet port, and there are some fins provided over here. You can see this is the cooling fins, which is we can see in the bike engine is fin type engine. So these are the cooling fins provided for the air cooling purpose. Now let's see in detail. Air cooling is a method of dissipating heat. So it works by making the object to be cooled have a large surface area or have an increased flow of air over its surface, or both. So an example of former is to add fins to the surface of the object. If we have to cool the engine by air cooling system, simple, we have to add fins to the surface of that object, either by making them integral or by attaching them tightly to the object's surface to ensure efficient heat transfer. Now in case of the latter, it is done by using a fan blowing air into or onto the object on wants to be cooled. So by using fan blower, we can also cool the engine. In many cases, the addition of fins adds to the total surface area, making a heat sink that makes for great efficiency in cooling. In all cases, the air has to be cooler than the object or surface from which it is expected to remove heat. So this is how air cooling works. These are the fins provided on the engine. Now, second type is the water cooling, which is used in large engines. So how it works? In water cooling, cylinders are closed in the water jacket. The flow path as well as the local velocity should be carefully planned to cool highly thermally stressed areas. So the design of velocity is previously planned so that the high stress areas are cooled as per the requirement. So local velocities greater than 3 to 4 meter per second are used to provide a reasonable heat transfer. The cast surfaces are usually machined to improve heat transfer coefficient. Sometimes drilled coolant passages are provided to cool highly stressed parts. Now antifreeze materials, which are the antifreeze materials? These are the antifreeze materials, which is kerosene, glycerin, ethylene glycol and propylene glycol. So these are the antifreeze materials which are used as a coolant. Now some antifreeze solution from sticky deposit on the cylinder and reduce the heat transfer coefficient. Chromats are used as additives to cooling water to prevent the deposits. So this is one additive which is added with the cooling water to prevent the deposits. Now there are various methods are used for circulating the water around the engine cylinder. First one is the thermosiphon, second is the force or we can say pump cooling, third one is the cooling with thermostatic regulator, fourth one is the pressurized water cooling, and fifth one is the evaporative cooling. So these are the methods we will see one by one. First one is this thermosiphon cooling. Now in thermosiphon cooling, water circulation occurs due to temperature and density difference and independent on the engine speed. In thermosiphon system, the circulation of water is not dependent on the engine speed. It is independent with the engine speed, but the water circulation is happening due to the temperature and density difference. This is the diagram of thermosiphon or natural circulation cooling system. This is the cylinder water jacket. This is lower hose, upper hose connection. This is the upper tank. This is the radiator. It's a heat exchanger, and this is the lower tank. So this is the flow of water circulation because of the temperature difference. As the temperature decrease, the water flows up and down. This is the movement of the water circulation. So rate of circulation is slow and is insufficient. In this thermosiphon cooling, the rate of circulation is very slow and it is insufficient. The circulation of water starts only after the engine has become hot enough to cause the thermosiphon action. As I said, this circulation of water is not dependent on the engine speed. It is only depends on the temperature and the density. So when the engine will start, as the engine becomes hotter, the circulation of water will start. When the engine is not starting, when engine is on the stop condition, the circulation of water is not starting. It is on the rest condition. So radiator should be above the engine for gravity flow of the water to the engine. As the water is dependent on the temperature and the gravity density, so the radiator placement should be above the engine. So because of the gravity, water can flow. So this is the thermosiphon cooling system. Now second one is the forced or pump system. This is the diagram. This is the engine, this is the radiator fan, the airflow radiator, the airflow, this is the pump. So pump driven from engine through belt is used to cause positive circulation of water in the water jacket. Now here is one pump is attached. That's why it is called the pump system. How pump is operated? Pump is operated with the help of the engine. From engine there is one belt which is connected to this pump and the pump is operating. So pump will pump the engine water circulation and it will flow through the engine, and from the radiator it is again circulated. So here the pump is used. In thermosiphon there is no pump, it is only because of the temperature and density, but here the pump is attached to circulate the water. That's why it is called the force or pump system. The advantage of force system are that the cooling is ensured under all condition of the operation, whether the engine is stopped or in working. This circulation of water is always on. So the advantage of force system are that the cooling is ensured under all the conditions. Now what are the drawbacks? First one is the cooling is independent of the temperature. Whether the temperature is high or low, the cooling is continuously doing. The water is continuously circulating because the engine is operating, and the engine is operating. That's why the pump is operating, and that's why the circulation of water is continuously flowing, which is independent to the temperature. It doesn't relate with the temperature. So this may under certain circumstances result in overcooling of the engine. So when there is no requirement of the cooling but still the water is circulating, and that's why it will become overcooled engine, and this is the big problem. So while moving uphill, when the moving vehicle is moving uphill, the cooling requirement is increased as the load on the engine increase because more fuel is burned. However, the coolant circulation is reduced, while may result in overheating of the engine. Now when there is uphilling requirement, so the fuel is burning more. As the fuel burns more, the temperature becomes very higher, so the coolant circulation is reduced, and this will create the overheating of the engine. This is the again major problem. Now as soon as the engine is stopped, the cooling also ceases. This is undesirable because cooling must continue till the temperature is reduced to the normal values. Now, if you stop the engine, the engine will stop, and because of that, the pump will also stop, and this will stop the water circulation, which is not required. So this is undesirable because cooling must be continued till the temperature is reduced to the normal values. So this is the again very big problem with the force pump system. Now next is the thermostat cooling system. This is the diagram. This is the thermostat valve. This is the radiator, lower header, upper header, drain cock. This is the radiator cap. This is upper hose connection, fan, the pulley which operate the fan. This is the engine cylinder, two valves, water jacket, and this centrifugal pump which will operate this whole mechanism. Now let's say, to lower cylinder barrel temperature may result in corrosion damage. Thermostat is used to stop flow of coolant below preset cylinder barrel temperature. There is one valve which is the heart of this diagram, which is called thermostat valve. What is the function of it? Thermostat is used to stop flow of coolant below a preset cylinder barrel temperature. Thermostat prevents the water from circulating through the radiator until its temperature has reached to a suitable value. Thermostat valve has a unique work that it will prevent the water from circulating through the radiator until its temperature has reached to a suitable value. There are some suitable values. When this value reaches, the water has to start circulating. So thermostat valve will prevent the water from circulating if there is no requirement, and if there is a requirement, then it will start circulating. So thermostat bypass valve is fitted between the engine and the radiator top. So thermostat valve is operated by a small element filled with the wax. As the temperature increases, the wax melts and the valve is open to allow the coolant to go to the radiator. So this is how thermostat valve is operating. It is filled with the wax. So when the temperature increases, wax will automatically melt, and because of this melting, the valve is open to allow the coolant to go to the radiator. So as the temperature increases, the coolant will go to the radiator. This is how the unnecessary flow of coolant is reduced because of the thermostat valve. This is the arrangement. This is the valve. This is the bellows, the bypass valve. If there is requirement of bypass of the coolant, then it will flow from here. So water from water jacket flows inside this. This is the bellows. In this is full of the wax. When temperature increase in this, the wax will melt and the flow of water from water jacket goes to the radiator. So this is how thermostat valve will operate. Now next one is the pressurized water cooling system. A water pump is an important part of the engine cooling system. It provides the circulation of engine coolant antifreeze through the cooling system. A water pump pushes the coolant through the passage, which is water jacket, in the engine cylinder block and the cylinder head, and then out into the radiator. This helps to keep the engine from overheating. The hot coolant passes through the radiator where it cools down and then returns back to the engine. So in pressurized water cooling system, a pump is used, water pump, which will pressurize the water and circulate it among the water jackets and for cooling purpose of the engine. This is how it works. This is the water pump. The blue arrows shows the water is in cooled condition. As the arrow of the water becoming reddish, that means the temperature of water is increasing. There is a thermostat valve. When it passes through this thermostat valve, it goes to the radiator. Radiator is a one type of heat exchanger, we know that. So when the water passes through the radiator, it becomes cooler and again it circulates to the engine. So this is how the water is circulating. It goes to the engine, absorbs the heat of the engine cylinder piston components, and it becomes hotter. Then it's again circulated to the radiator. It again cool down and it's again is transferred to the engine. So this is how the engine water circulation is done with the help of the water pump. That's why it is called pressurized water cooling system. Now next one is the evaporative cooling system. This is the diagram. There is water. This is a pump used for water circulation. The engine block and the steam, and there is a vents in cap which will collect the steam and convert into the water again. So how it works? This method of cooling utilizes the high latent heat of vaporization of water to be obtained cooling with minimum of water. The cooling circuit is such that the coolant is always liquid, but the steam formed is flashed off in a separate vessel. The coolant is in always liquid state, but the water is formed in a flash off in a separated vessel. The steam is collected in a separate vessel, but the coolant is always in a liquid state. So when the water circulates with the help of pump, it goes to the engine, it absorbs the heat and cool the engine and becomes as a steam. The steam is again collected in the vents, where it is collected in a separate vessel. Again it is converted into water, but the coolant is always in a liquid state. So the makeup water so formed is sent back for the cooling, and the collected water again sent back for the cooling purpose. So this is how evaporative cooling working. Water will pump to the engine for circulation, it absorbs the heat, becomes the steam is collected in a separate vessel, and again the separate vessel collect the steam and becomes water, and again it is circulated for the cooling purpose. So this is how evaporative cooling system works. Now let's see the comparison between air cooling and water cooling. So air cooling, no danger of water freezing at low temperature, as there is no water, so there is no danger of water freezing at low temperature. Water cooling, there is a danger of water freezing at low temperature. In some cases, if the temperature becomes low, so there is the chances of water freezing in water cooling system. So this is the disadvantage. Second is for air cooling, maintenance is low and design is simple, as there is no pump and any other mechanical components, so the maintenance is low. While in water cooling, maintenance is high due to radiator and design of engine is complicated. In air cooling, engine warms up quickly, while in water cooling, engine warms takes comparatively more time. In air cooling, the engine warms quickly, but in the water cooling, as the engine size is larger, it takes some more time. In air cooling, specific fuel consumption is lower, and in water cooling, specific fuel consumption is higher. In air cooling, weight to power ratio is low, as the engine size is small, as the engine size and weight is small, so the weight to power ratio is small, while in water cooling the weight to power ratio is high. For air cooling, suitable for low capacity engine, while water cooling is suitable for high capacity engine. Air cooling regulation of cylinder temperature is not possible. Here in air cooling, cylinder temperature regulation is not possible because there is no component added or no any sensor or valve is attached. It is only based on the airflow. So there is not possible to regulate the cylinder temperature. While in water cooling, regulation of cylinder temperature is possible because of the thermostat valve and the radiator. While in air cooling, volumetric efficiency is low. For water cooling, volumetric efficiency is higher. Now for air cooling, cooling is not even. Water cooling, more even cooling is achieved. So this is the basic comparison between air cooling and the water cooling. So this is done for today's topic. If you have any questions and queries, mention your questions in the comment section. I'll try to solve it as early as possible. Thank you.